Hi, I'm Tim Mullins. I'm the youth pastor at a local church called Hamilton Christian Center. See, most of us have grown up in church or been around a pastor at some point in time where they told us that we didn't have much time left, that you never knew when your last day was going to be on earth. Well, those words never really sunk into me until on May 14th, I was driving home from a breakfast with my little girl. She's 2 years old, strapped in the back seat, and I was heading home to my 3-day-old baby and my wife, and I felt a pop in my chest, and I felt the liquid flow down the inside, and I began to feel the pain radiate throughout my chest. I drove on home to drop my daughter off and proceeded to go to the ER. When I walked in the ER, I was a little panicky, and the nurse, in an effort to calm me down, said, "Don't worry about anything until I tell you it's time to worry." He goes, "I've done this for a long time, and I'll be honest with you." They took me back for a CAT scan and did an x-ray. And as they came down, he set me down and told me, he said, "What you got is very serious. Most people don't survive it, and the ones who do have already been in surgery, so you've wasted way too much time. You need to call your family. You need to take care of anything you need to take care of." So I called my wife, and I told her that everything was going to be okay, that they were taking me to another hospital because I didn't want her to worry with a brand new baby at home. And then I shot a video to my kids, tell them how sorry Daddy was that he wasn't around anymore, and how much he loved them and was very proud of who they become. Told my wife how much I loved her and how much she meant to me. And then I called my pastor and told him what was going on and that I needed prayer. And at that moment, I felt a peace come over me because honestly, I thought that was my last day. My family was there, and as they loaded me into the helicopter, I began to doze off. And as I fell asleep, I thought that I would wake up and I'd be in heaven, that what I'd see would be Jesus when my eyes opened. But actually what happened was I woke up a week and a half later, completely paralyzed on one side of my body. You see, I had something that's called an aortic dissection, and it's where the main artery that comes out of your heart goes down your leg. It supplies your whole body with blood. Mine had ripped from my heart to my leg. 40% of people don't make it to the hospital. Another 20 die in surgery. So I was already fighting the odds. And the only reason I'd made it, as far as I'd made it, is because I had people in the church praying for me. I had family members praying. I had people who didn't even know who I was praying for me all across the world. So Jesus had to move because the people were crying out for him to do something. But at that moment, it was all on me. I had to reach down deep inside and find a faith that I'd never used before. I needed a faith that was something you'd find in the Bible about how a mountain could be moved or miracles could happen. I needed something stronger than just your average faith. Many of us aren't faced with an opportunity to actually use a faith. We grow up believing in Jesus. We grow up knowing about Jesus, but rarely are we given the opportunity where we have to use every bit of faith that we have. And I was given that opportunity. You see, I had a stroke that wiped out most of my left side, and the doctors were telling me that I would never walk again and I'd never use my left side again. At one point, they said mentally they weren't sure if I'd ever come back. And immediately I started fighting that because what they were telling me wasn't the truth. The only truth was what Jesus was going to do for me. And I serve a God that is amazing and powerful and capable of doing anything. So I began to fight and began to start moving and doing what I could. And then when I was in rehab after a day and a half, the nurse asked me what I wanted to do to get out of the hospital. And I told her, a week and a half from now, I want to walk in the church and with no assistance. I want to walk in on my own. And she said, I need something more realistic because that's not going to work. And I said, that's what I asked for. That's what I want. So I did a day of rehab, and then I ended up getting sent back to the ICU because I had an internal bleed that almost took me out that night, that they had missed, that I overlooked. And another week goes by, and I get taken back to rehab, and the girl asked me, said, we talked before, but what is it now that you want to do to get out of the hospital? And I said, in 3 days, I want to walk in the church and with no assistance. And she said, it wasn't possible a week and a half ago, it's not possible now. And I began to pray, and I began to fight and have people support me. And every time they asked me to do one thing, I did even more. If they asked me to do one step, I did a whole flight of steps. If they asked me to walk a lap around the nurse's station, I did 3. Everything I did with the power of Jesus Christ behind my back. Because you see, Somebody can tell you one thing. It can look impossible. The task can be so huge that there's no way that you can do it on your own. And then Jesus steps in and corrects all that and does what everybody else says can't happen. He takes care of. He's a God of greatness. The same God that was in the Bible, the same miracles he performed then, he can still perform now. The only difference is how much we believe that he can do it. So I ask you tonight, is there anything in your life that seems impossible, seems unreachable? If God can bring me through what I did, I should have died, I never should have made it. 3 separate times I should have died, and God brought me through that. He cured everything that was wrong with me, and he fixed it all. Can he do that for you?